Let's go to News Channel 5's Maris Badcock right now.
She is at Palm Beach County Animal Care and Control, and I know that we've had more and more pets sadly abandoned as people flee the storm. Maris, what's the latest from ACC?
Well, I'm actually here with Diane Sauvé. She's the Director of Animal Care for Palm Beach County, and you've just told me some pretty interesting and heartbreaking information about animals. What are your crews seeing out there right now?
Well, our officers went back out to the same area that we were getting complaints on yesterday and removed another 26 dogs today that had been left behind by various residents who had evacuated.
So that brings the total number of abandoned animals in Palm Beach County to what?
49 dogs and 2 cats, and that's just the ones that we were able to locate.
And we're not talking about abandoned inside their home. Can you tell me what you're seeing? How are you recognizing this?
Right. These are dogs that had literally, owners had gone, and they were left either in pens or in yards that they would not be able to get out of, or tethered or chained.
So when a dog like that is chained to a tree and you have hurricane winds coming into the county, what does that do to an animal?
Well, it's pretty horrific. I mean, you have these unbelievable winds that are blowing, and every little item is a projectile, which can literally flay the skin off of an animal.
Oh my God, that is really, really difficult to hear. And here's the other thing. If I am a neighbor outside and I see a dog chained to a tree, what should I do at this point? Because we're about an hour out from curfew.
Right, and our officers are still responding to emergency calls right now, but there will come a time very near when we'll have to pull them off the road. So if people are seeing this, we're hoping that they will assist. If it's safe for them to go out, if it's their neighbor and the dog is friendly, we're hoping that they will assist. We don't want anyone to be in danger, but also there's a time when we can no longer respond.
And what about people who are interested in taking these animals in themselves, helping to alleviate some of the pressure that the shelters are receiving right now? Are you guys still accepting foster parents for animals?
We have closed for the day. We had to get all of our employees off the road and home, but as soon as the storm is past and we're reopened, we will be looking for help in our community to again relieve us of the animals that are up for adoption. We have several transports that are planned to move animals out of the state to areas that are less impacted.
I mean, we have many compassionate people working with animals here in our county. How does this make you feel when you see that somebody left their dog chained to a tree to fend for themselves during Hurricane Irma?
Oh, it's horrific, and you know, those 49 dogs and 2 cats that we managed to save, there's no doubt in my mind that there are a lot more that are out there that we are unable to find or get to, and it's very disappointing, but you know, we still believe that there's a greater good in humanity, and that this is a fraction of the bad apples that are out there.
So you haven't lost your faith in humanity yet?
No, never.
Okay, that's good to hear. So as you'll see throughout our coverage, hurricanes tend to bring out the worst in people and the absolute best. We'll keep you updated here from the Emergency Operations Center in Palm Beach County, but for now I'll send it back to you guys.
I know if Diane knows that I'm sitting here, she probably is certain that I have a couple of questions, because this is stomach turning. It just makes me sick. But I would like to know from Diane's, can they prosecute these people who have left these dogs?
That's a very good question. So we have another follow-up question for you. What about prosecution if you leave your animal out during Hurricane Irma?
Our goal would be to file felony cruelty charges on someone that does this. You know, there is the burden of proving that case, but you know, the good news is that the animals are out of that situation, and we'll do our best to make sure they don't go back to that home.
And that's my next question. How difficult is it to prove these cases?
Well, you know, it's always difficult, but we will do our best, and we have a wonderful state attorney's office who is very supportive of us with animal issues.
That's right. We talked to the state attorney yesterday. He looked directly in the camera and said he will prosecute anybody that leaves their animal out during Hurricane Irma. So if you're thinking about doing it, you may want to consider those words before you tether your dog to a tree.
Well, it's beyond me that somebody would even think about doing that. I just have another question. With ACC closed for the day, because I'm going to put out a plea for everybody to just look around if they think they've got a neighbor who might do something like this. And some people kind of suspect things. Would you mind, like, what should they do if they see this and animal care and control isn't open right now? If they see a dog that's been abandoned, or a cat or a cow or a horse or something like that?
Absolutely. So we have another follow-up question. So if somebody, if you do see a dog, livestock, anything abandoned, we talked about this a little bit, but once ACC is closed, what can you do?
Well, there's just a limited amount that anyone can do once the wind speeds are in excess of 35 miles per hour. We're off the road, law enforcement is off the road, and literally people are going to have to make sure that they're not on the road trying to do heroics. We don't need to put human life in danger. Sad, but that's the reality.
So are you saying that, you know, protect human life before animal life in this case?
Yes, human
you
life
have
does come
to.
first.
Yep.
We are animal lovers,
Sadly.
we are protectors of animals, but we have to protect humans. If there are no humans, who's going to protect the animals?
That's a really good point. So everyone keep that in mind. But if you can protect those animals before the conditions get even worse out there, please go ahead and do so now while you still have the daylight left to help you.
Thank you, Maris. Please tell Diane thank you for all the work they do, because times like this.
They're sending a lot of thanks.
We see, as you've always mentioned, we always say this, we see so much more good in people, but these bads really just make you, it's a sucker punch to the gut,
right.
isn't it?
Because it's awful that people would even consider doing that. Maris, Diane, thank you so much.
Yep, as always.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Diane and Maris. Thank you for keeping us updated on this. What are people thinking?
They're not. That's sad, you know, that you would put an animal out there defenseless.
You know, and the thing is, very often people can't leave with their animals. They cannot, but they've got to leave. If you find a neighbor, usually if you know anybody and you explain your situation, somebody will take your pet, somebody will find somebody to take your pet, but you can't have a pet if you think tying it to a tree is okay.
No. And you can't do it spur of the moment. That's why you have to prepare ahead of time. The what ifs that come up in situations like this, a big storm where you have to evacuate. Sometimes the evacuation, it shouldn't be spur of the moment, but in case it is, you've done your homework ahead of time. You know your neighbors, you've talked to them, the what if.